it a press anyway. We have before us our Vice Chancellor, Professor Mumba. He needs no introduction to many of us here. We've interacted in many fora. We also have our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Tamara Kambi. I'm sure some of you are meeting for this time. We have our Basa here, Mr. Kwambwe Arnold. They will be, talking to us and responding to issues that perhaps we've been seeing happening in the recent past. Apart from what we've been seeing, we want to avoid this grapevine, rumor mongering. The facts are here. So the Vice Chancellor will be speaking to us, and then we'll have an opportunity where we'll be asking questions. I will guide when we reach at that point. VC, we also want to mention that we are streaming this live on our Facebook. So I'm sure most of the students who are out there, they are able to follow what is being done at this particular time. We have a few other colleagues that are coming. They will be joining us as we go on. At this particular time, I will invite the VC to speak to us.
Invite me to introduce him. Bad protocol. I will introduce the VC.
Oh. Sure, please.
Yes. VC, I want to just mention that I took time to greet the colleagues. We have Komboni Radio, we have KBN TV, we have our own UNZA Radio, we have Daily Nation, we have Movie TV. Where's Movie? Ah, you've moved! Just like your name. Daily Mail Times of Zambia, Diamond TV, Hot FM, very hot there. And ZTV. I've seen someone come in. I didn't have...
She's over there.
Yeah, you're from?
I'm from Classic Radio.
Classic Radio.
Wow.
So you can see that we've got a lot of colleagues, and I'm sure they cover beyond the borders of Zambia. So once you speak, they'll be able to make sure that everyone hears this. So colleagues, our VC will give you the overview, and we'll hear what you want to clarify. We are all here. Maybe the other principal officers will also join us, so that if you ask something which is specific to any of them or any of us, we'll be able to take your questions. So, VC.
Allow me for a moment to remove my mask. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We value your coming this morning. The media are so important to what we do as the University of Zambia, because you help us to communicate, to disseminate information about the University of Zambia. So today we are here. We would like to provide some clarifications on some of the current topical issues surrounding the University of Zambia. I'm anxiously looking forward to the question and answer session, so that really we help you and you help us to clarify the issues to the public, to the stakeholders of the University of Zambia. Let me also indicate here that the University of Zambia occupies a very, very special place in the history of this country. We never used to have a university. In 1965, the government then made a decision that we should establish our own university to produce our own human resource that will assist with the program of Zambianization, Zambians to begin to take over the positions that were being manned by foreigners. And UNZA has played a pivotal role in that regard. You may also wish to know, since many of you are relatively young, that this university was built by the sweat of the people of Zambia, men and women who contributed chickens, goats, cows, money, bricks to build this university. So it has a legacy, and that legacy must carry on. Posterity will judge this generation harshly if we bring the University of Zambia down. Now, let's address the issues of today. I'll start with a background in terms of how the University of Zambia operates. We're a public university. The main shareholder is government through the Ministry of Higher Education. Our role is to admit students in all the 13 schools of the University of Zambia. Once we scrutinize their qualifications, they meet the requirements, we offer them letters of admission. Now, it is the responsibility of each and every student thereafter to go and look for support, for funding. We give them a schedule of fees, which are here for all the schools. So there are the following sources of funding. The biggest one is the Higher Education's Loans and Scholarship Board under the Ministry of Higher Education. Almost 70% of the students in the University of Zambia currently are sponsored by the Higher Education Loans and Scholarship Board through the loans scheme. Then others fall under the category of self-sponsorship, where they have not been able to secure a loan from government, or they have not met the requirements. So their parents, their guardians, relatives commit to support those students. But there is also another category which we call other sponsors. These could be faith-based organizations, NGOs, other government ministries. For example, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Defense, they also do sponsor students. The University of Zambia does not sponsor students because we do not have the financial muscle to do that. We look forward to a time when we can have some reserve, identify needy students, students certain criteria and outstanding students, and give them scholarships. But that time has not come yet. Now, once students have been admitted, as I said, we give them this letter, this schedule of fees. Now, we also recognize that it's very difficult for parents or sponsors to be able to pay fees at one go. So we have a very flexible method of paying fees in the University of Zambia. The fees are staggered in 4 installments. The first installment is 25% plus other fees. This is paid at the time of registration. Once you pay at the beginning of the academic year, you are going to be registered as a student of the University of Zambia. Then, at the end of term 1, students are expected to pay another 25%. At the end of term 2, the second term, another 25%. And then, before exams, like now, they pay the final installment. But in addition to this, we have said we will allow students to pay for one course at a time, or 2 courses, or 3 courses, depending on their capability to pay. We do not insist that you pay for all the courses. This again is meant to accommodate students who have challenges to pay their fees. Now, we must also understand that in order for the university to operate, it has a budget. This budget is, yes, by the way, before I get to there. So, we also send out reminders to students. At the beginning of the year, everyone signs to this payment plan of 4 installments. There is no student in the University of Zambia who can claim not to be aware of this payment plan. If they tell you so, they are not being truthful. So, in addition to that, what we do is we send reminders. When an installment is due, we send a reminder. For example, this was a reminder sent out on 25th of August for students, and it says, this serves to remind all registered institutions who have not paid the second 25% installment of tuition fees, which was due at the end of term 1, to do so by Friday, 4th of September 2020. Failure to do so will result in being deregistered and having no access to e-learning platform. Students are advised to abide by this reminder to avoid being inconvenienced. There was a second reminder issued by the Office of the Registrar on 3rd of November, because we realized exams are on 16th of November. So on 3rd of November, there was another reminder on similar lines. Why do we do all this? We do all this to ensure that the university collects the fees for its operations. We don't do it because we want to punish students. The university needs the funds in order to operate. We use these funds to pay salaries. We use these funds to pay electricity, water, and other bills, security services, internet services. So many bills are paid through these fees. That is why those payment schedules need to be observed, because at some point we know we'll have this cash flow, we'll be able to pay for this. At this point, we'll be able to pay salaries. If students don't abide by those payments plans, that's when you hear lecturers are on strike because they have not received their salaries. And we don't want that. We want the institution to run smoothly so that students can acquire the skills that they came here to obtain. But you cannot obtain them for free because it is not government policy to provide free tertiary education. It used to be like that before, in my time, in our time. But policies change depending on circumstances. At the moment, the prevailing policy is what they call cost sharing. So students some of them get 100% funding from the Higher Education Loans Scholarship Board. Registrar, you are welcome. Others are given 50%. Others are given 75%. So it means that those are given 50%, they have to find the other 50%. Their parents or whoever must pay. Those that are given 75%, they must find the 25%. So that the budget of the University of Zambia can be financed and we provide the services. Now, there's been this argument. Maybe let me buttress a bit. So, when you go to, what do you call that place where you go and get loans? or you get higher purchase.
Us women especially.
Uh-huh.
You know, lay-by.
Yes, there's been an argument that no, we were not reminded. We are not reminded. When you go for lay-by, you know that when you are due to pay those installments. Can you really accuse the people that have given that services of, I didn't pay because you didn't remind me? Is that the way it works? No, I don't think it works like that. Right. Now, there have been discussions out there that UNZA Management is being very harsh. Why don't they allow students to write exams? And after they write exams, they will then come and pay when they are collecting the results. I have been in this university for the past 37 years as a member of staff, a lecturer, and now as the Vice Chancellor. This formula, dear media houses, has failed us. It does not work. I'll explain why and what happens is this. When we allow students to write their exams and they go, a significant number of those students do not pay. What happens is that when we release the we publish the results, we withhold the results of those who have not paid. They don't pay, and they start putting pressure on management to say that we need to register for the next academic year, we need to get scholarship for the next academic year, but we can't do those things until we know our results. Can you release our results? And students are very clever. They've been using this formula year in and year out. So we are given instructions, directives, release the results. We release the results. For those who are graduating, who are finished, the pressure goes like this. These students have finished. They need to begin working. They can't be employed if you don't release their results. We want to deploy them in the Ministry of Health, in the Ministry of General Education, in the Ministry of, in many places. But you are holding on to their results, we need their services. They will pay later, release the results. Management gives in, we release those results. What happens? Office of Auditor General comes to audit the university. They produce a report which shows that in year X, 3,000 students in the University of Zambia never paid their fees. And then we are called to PAC to explain. We are carpeted as an incompetent management. Why do you allow students who have not paid to sit for exams? Why have all these students not paid? This is what happens. Even our employer, the University Council, says, you are management. What kind of management is this? And when we go to government and say, oh, we don't have money to run the university, but how come? You are failing to collect fees from students. How can it be? You have to collect fees from them because they are part of your budget. 60% of UNZA budget is financed by student fees. JRZ, self-sponsorship, those categories I mentioned. 20%, 30% is financed by grants from government. 10% from revenue that we generate as investors through the various business ventures. But also, now, from 2018, government has produced this document. It's called the Public Finance Management Act, number 1 of 2018. And in this act, I'll paraphrase, any CEO of a public institution who fails to collect public revenue, and public revenue includes fees, commits an offense. Are we understanding each other? So, when you put pressure on management to allow you to go and have exams, you go away without paying your fees, we are committing a crime. Our jobs are on the line, so we are viewed as we are not performing. So our plea is to all stakeholders, students, intellectuals, to understand the position of management. We are not just being heard, or we are not heard just for its own sake, because we are bad people. We have a responsibility to run this university. We cannot run it without collecting fees from students. I must also inform you that government on its part has paid for all its students this year. Those that were under 50%, 75%, 100%, government has paid to the Minister of Higher Education. The Minister of Higher Education has also paid the grant 100%. But we have now exhausted our budget for 2020. Our only reliance to finish November and December is to collect the fees from students. So that is why you see us pleading with you. Unless we do that, we will not have money to run the exams that people are saying, give them the exams, they'll pay later. But these exams cost money. Those of you who have been in the university, we prepare what we call exam booklets, special booklets where students write exams. Those booklets, we need volumes and volumes of reams of paper, millions of kwachas to give exams to the entire university. We have to pay external examiners. We are a university, standards must be observed. External examiners have to review what we are doing. That's a standard practice in universities. Those in the sciences, they have to have practical examinations. We have to buy reagents, chemicals, some of which are brought from outside, from South Africa. We have to bring them in. So when you say, give us exams, let me go and write exams without paying my fees. How is that possible? How? So ladies and gentlemen, help us to manage this institution. I gave you the legacy of UNZA. But what we are doing now, what I saw happening last night, does not augur well for UNZA, which has now risen in African rankings among the top 20 universities in Africa. We're number 18. But with the kinds of images I was seeing last night, that is subtracting from the successes that we have achieved. So I'm appealing once again, we have extended an amnesty to students. This exam is ending on 16th of November.
30th.
Or 30th, I beg your pardon. We started 16th of November. We are ending on 30th of November. If you have missed any paper or papers and you have not been able to find money, we are saying we'll give you another chance in December to write a deferred exam. So your parents can find monies in the November salaries, December salaries, for you to be able to pay your fees. Because we need those fees to pay salaries for staff. The same staff who are giving you exams, they will not mark those papers. They will not release the results if they are not paid their salaries for November and December. I hope I've helped to clarify the issues. Have I left out anything?
Just
GVC?
no, just to buttress, no student has been checked.
Yeah.
They are all in their rooms. And like the VC has ably said, all we have said is if you haven't paid because of whatever reason, can you please now make sure you pay? And there's still an opportunity. This academic year runs up to 31st of December. So as long as you can bring in the money before we get to the deferreds, you are going to be given the chance. So we are failing to understand when we're being labeled as not being understanding, because we've bent backwards to try and make sure the same COVID which has affected the students has affected all of us, including the staff, including the principal officers in front of you. We are all in this COVID era. We all trying to do the best that we can. And the other thing, to just mention again what the BC had said, we have exams in a phased manner. The ones who are here are the finalists and those who are the year before. The monies that are being owed, some of them go way back to first year.
Yeah.
We don't have the first years yet. They're coming next month. So these are the challenges. Why did someone leave the money all the time? And they are finalists. They're going. If they don't pay, then who pays? When someone doesn't pay, a gap is left. It means something is not happening. Either there will be no internet, there will be no water, there will be no electricity, there will be no salary. Something gives. That's all we are trying to say. And through you, the fourth estate, can you please take our plea that all we are trying to do is to do the right thing for all of us.
Thank you, DVC. Just also to add that it's very interesting. Basa will tell you that since exams started on Monday, and since management has put its foot down in a way on this matter, we are seeing students paying. Meaning that students were either holding on to their money or the parents were holding on to the money. So progressively, the collections are increasing. If you go to the bank now, Zanaf, you find a long queue. Students are paying. And that's what we want students to do. They should pay. We are not asking for too much. You can't have a service and then refuse to pay for it, or have it on credit. Universities do not run on credit. I've explained to you why we need money at every stage. So we can't offer you service and then you're going to pay next year. You are going to put us in problems. You are going to break the law. Thank you. I think at this juncture, we will invite questions.
Thank you very much, VC. We'll move this way. I think we'll be taking 3 questions. Thereafter, I'll ask the VC or indeed anyone else who can pick it up from there to respond. As you ask your question, please, again, you can indicate just enough to tell us who you are, where you're coming from. Thank you so much. The handover.
Good afternoon. Priscilla from Zambia Daily.
Priscilla?
Yes. My questions are, I would like to know an approximate number of students that we have here at UNZA. And if you may, can you also avail me how, just an approximate figures of how many are undervisory and how many the categories you gave us, those that are under battery, other sponsors, whatnot. And also, I would like to know how much damage was caused by the act by the students, and if you're taking any action. And also, just your words to the students, apart from them paying, as you have said, as you have explained. But, I mean, going forward, we've seen this happening. Who loses out? They'll still come back to the same school, they'll still come back to use the same facilities.
Thank you. Yes. Your name and your institution?
Maybe even before you do that, there were those who came in. Maybe those need to introduce themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, I'm Lucky Piri from ZMBC. Yes, my question is similar to one which was asked by the previous speaker. I just want to find out how many students are affected, those that have not paid the fees. And the other question is how much is the institution owed in terms of the money that the students have not paid?
Thank you. Getting a third question? Yes, please.
Good afternoon. Loretta Chingandu from UNZA. My question is, we've seen students that have resorted to withdrawing their place this year. What happens to these students? Are they, when they come back next year, will they be required to pay for this year and next year? And then also there's concern amongst students that they have user fees, especially the ones that are at home. So what will happen to the unused user fees? Is the school looking into pushing some of that user fees towards the tuition fee? Because I'm made to believe part of that money is stuff like library, recreation, and internet, which is not being used by the students at home. So is the school going to push for those user fees to be channeled towards tuition fee?
Thank you.
Right. We'll have a go at this first set of questions. I'll attempt to respond to them and also invite my colleagues to come in. Madam Priscilla from Daily Mail, the number of students that are affected with this non-payment of fees. Currently, the total number of students in the university is about 9,500. Out of that number, 3,500 thereabout are ones affected. About 3,500. And the total amount of money involved is 57 million kwacha. 57 million kwacha. In terms of how many students are bursary, self-sponsored, and other categories,
That's the latest.
okay. So the latest situation here is that, but these are registered, they may be registered, they haven't paid.
Oh,
Yeah.
no,
So
okay, let me look for them.
that's fine. So, in terms of the breakdown, maybe Baza can help, but what I know is that 60 to 70% of our students are sponsored by the Higher Education Loans and Scholarship Board. And then the other 30%, roughly, are in the other categories, self-sponsorship and other sponsors. So what we have here in terms of latest statistics, forgive me about the area figure, I retract, is that the number of registered students who have paid up 100%, who we are inconveniencing by the actions that we are doing now, because they have met all the requirements, are 9,225. So I retract the area figures because this is most current statistics. So 76% of the students have paid 100%. Okay? And then,
This is the 24% who haven't been.
those that haven't paid, haven't reached 100%, and these are the ones we're having challenges with, are 2,796, which represents 24%. So the total number of students is 12,021. So again, the challenge is with the 2,796 students, representing 24% of the total number of students in the university. I hope that is clear. Then, act of damage. To what extent has the damage been done? And is there any action that is planned to be taken by management on the suspects? I would like to say that the report I've received from our Chief of Security is that other than the fires that were set, which is arson, it's a criminal offense, to want to set alight an infrastructure, a public infrastructure of UNZA built through the sweat and toil of the people of Zambia. That's a very serious offense. We have identified some students through our CCTV systems, and also some of the students who are not for what is going on, the majority of students who are not for what is going on, have also given us names of culprits. And very, very soon, within the next 48 hours, action and stern action is going to be taken. Because management wants to send a very strong message that acts of vandalism, anarchy, breaking the law, breaking the rules and the regulations of the university is not going to be tolerated. And who is the loser at the end of the day? It is the students. It's the people of Zambia. It is the people who are waiting to come to UNZA. There's a queue of students wanting to come to UNZA. These are the losers when we destroy this infrastructure. Lucky Piri from ZNBC, the number of students affected, I think I've responded to that. And how much is owed, I've responded to that. It's 57 million for it. And this can see us up to the end of the year. Give exams nicely, pay salaries, and pass some of our operations. That's why we need this man. Madam Cloretta, UNZA Radio, our own UNZA Radio. Students withdrawing, what happens? Are they expected to pay fees again next year? We have a policy that guides that question. It depends on at what point you withdrew from the university. If you were in the university 3/4 of the year, you will deemed to have used the services of the University of Zambia 100%. There will be no recourse to the funds, to the fees. But if you withdrew at the beginning of the year and you paid your fees, we will carry those fees forward. You withdrew, you lent up to the end of the year, you have to pay new fees when you come, because the service was rendered. Students who are out there have not used user fees. They are at home. Basa, would you like to come in there? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We have a number of fees, various fees. And if someone is talking about accommodation, of course that is carried forward because you've not consumed, used the accommodation facilities. But if one is talking about internet, the provision of internet in the universities
is mainly done through EduRoam, as well as the provision of infrastructure. We've got a relationship with Zamren. And students, wherever they are in the country, they are able to access internet of UNZA using the EduRoam provided through Zamren. So it depends on what type of fees. You go to the nearest school, there is EduRoam there. So in other words, students continue to benefit. You also want to appreciate that UNZA had gone online provision of courses online, and the lecturers that are disseminating that material, putting online, are using those technology fees. So I'm afraid that it depends on what type of fees.
Further, the e-learning platforms that we have got libraries. So just because you're out there, in fact, that's the beauty of this new normal where we learning online, and even as you come, we're doing blended learning. You're still able to access the libraries where you are, Vugwi, Kaputa, Shangungu, everywhere. So you're still using it, or you should still be using it. If you're not, then it means even when you're here, you were not using it, but it's available for use wherever you are. It's online.
So can I have another round of questions?
Thank you very much. Do we still have questions? Yes, sir.
Yes. I'm Matthews from 5FM Radio. Yes, I just want to find out how management is tackling the issue of these students protesting. I believe that this...
The damage that was said, of course you talked about the Assam Act, but then again, do we have any damages?
Thank you. Any other question, or can we still come back to you?
Mine is just on the money you mentioned that you got all the grants from government.
Yes.
And all the
Fees, yeah.
How much has government given you? And also maybe how much has been paid? Just for some background information that we need.
Yeah. I'll start with that one. There are three of them. Maybe I'll finish with that one. There has been no damage that has been done. The fires which were set were very quickly put out by our UNZA security. So they did not get any beyond the stairs, beyond the ground where the fire was lit. So we thank God for that, and also the quick action by UNZA security. Otherwise, we would have been talking about something else today. Right. Yes, let me go to that question by Priscilla, and then I'll come back to your question. Yes. The figures, we have them on our fingertips. You do the sums. From the grants, the grant is 200 million kwacha per year, which, as I said, represents 30% of our budget. The fees are about the same. It's about 17 million per month. So you can multiply 17 million per month by how many months? 12 months. That will give you the fees that government has paid fully for all the students that they sponsor. And we are very, very grateful to government for that. Our line minister has been, the Minister of Finance, have been very supportive. We cannot run this huge infrastructure. It's a huge operation without that kind of support and commitment from government. We are very, very grateful for that. How are you dealing with the protests to manage this, and how are you managing this situation? This gathering here is part of us trying to manage the situation, to calm down our students, to try and reason with them that we are a very understanding management. We have no intention to punish our students. But at the same time, we have a responsibility. The people of Zambia have entrusted this management with the responsibility of running this jewel of an institution. And we have to do certain things, and we have to do them right. And as I said, those that have been identified are going to be dealt with sternly as a deterrent to others that might be thinking of similar action. Currently, as we are speaking, the situation is calm, it's back to normal. Exams are going on. So please help us to dispel the misinformation that is going on about the management decision that we have taken. That will really assist us.
Maybe my question is still hanging on that one.
Okay.
Because I was talking about internationally or Africa in terms of your
ranking. Yes, unfortunately.
And also, we've seen this has been a problem. At UNZA there is a protest. So maybe just how are you engaging yourselves to ensure that this problem is sorted out?
Reputation damage, unfortunately, is given when students behave in the manner that has happened in the past 24 hours. It definitely does affect our reputation, our rankings. I hope that the quick firefighting that we have done can help to minimize that damage. But I think we need education. The answer is communication, communication, communication to our students. And indeed, the sponsors to understand why it is important that they support this management. Otherwise, their wards, their children, their sons and daughters will not get the education that they want. So I think it's about educating them. Our communications and marketing unit, our dean of students, the counselors, the counselors that we have in the university, management. We also need to start bringing role models to come and speak to our students. And also my appeal is that we need to depoliticize the university. We are polarizing this institution. Let individuals do their politics as individuals outside the university. But when we come here, let's focus on the mandate of the university, teaching and learning, generation of knowledge, publications, patents, community service, community engagement. I add innovation and industrialization. That's what is going to change our country. We need that human resource which we produce here to be the drivers of economic development. Thank you.
Just to add to your question, this gathering, we have not underestimated it. Like I said at the beginning, we know you are reaching beyond the boundaries of this country. So, with the statistics he has given, you can see it's a minority who are trying to be difficult. And even if we were to now drill down, some of them, they have been given the monies by their guardians, by their parents, but they're trying to just be difficult. So we believe that having given you this honest truth, it will pervade everywhere to know that this is not a problem as it is being put out there. We saw some of the social media clips in the night where they were saying the VC's office is burnt. No. There's nothing which was burnt. Like we have said, there were just fires which were lit around, so there was no damage. So please pass on the truth that there was no damage It's just a few minority students. The student union itself has got its structures. The structures were against this. So it's just a few, I am hesitating to use certain words like disgruntled. So I haven't used that word, but it's a few students who are trying to be difficult. Yeah. And we believe that with such meetings, and we'll continue talking to them. They actually have been coming to our offices, and we've been talking to them. Yeah.
In fact, GVC, I would like to add that we can invite the media to come and take photographs of our offices. You'll see that there is no sign of any fire anywhere. Nothing. No. From where you start coming up all the way, DVC's registrar's office, my office, they are intact. Yeah. And we'd also like to extend our thanks to the state police. They were on the periphery of the university, just making sure that students do not stray out of campus to go and cause damage to property of the public. And we are very, very grateful for that. They did not move inside, they were just, and they were coordinating with our UNZA security. And I think this is how it should be. Yeah, we are very, very grateful for that.
And also maybe just something which has come to my mind. You see, we have a payment plan. These students, if they were really in dire straits before the final day of paying the last 25%, why didn't they come and express their hardships? When it has expired, then they start going on a rampage. That is not proper. That's not how a civilized society should behave. If they had come and expressed major challenges, we could have had that discussion behind the scenes. It didn't need to be this way.
Thank you very much. Do we still have any questions? Or we are satisfied with what has been presented to us? I take note that at VC we have Cabinet, which has just come in. Maybe you might want to do an exclusive interview with the VC, maybe in his office. Yeah, because I think most of us we have gotten the information. So thank you very much. May I take this opportunity to thank you?
Just a minute. Just a minute. There is an issue which we did not address, and thank you, Registrar, for reminding me this. And it's a serious concern for management. We have also discovered that there are people from outside who are not necessarily students, who come into the university to try and influence students or even lead the riotous behavior that is going on here. And we are appealing to the members of the public to please desist from coming into UNZA to cause the chaos. We do not need that. Our students are in a hurry to get their degrees, graduate, and go and contribute to the development of their country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, DVC, Bazaar, Registrar, for addressing the press. We thought this was going to be better for us to address these issues which have been coming up. And please, we'll be calling on you whenever we have such issues to come and interact with us. Thank you so much for coming. And